On Wednesday, the California committee of the nation's first ever task force to study reparations for African Americans met in Oakland. Discussions focused on the eligibility requirement of residents that they must meet in order to qualify for potential reparation payments. At the hearing, various activists and entrepreneurs made demands that every qualified resident in the state should be compensated in payouts ranging from between $250,000 and $800,000. The committee has until July 1st to complete its report. To discuss is our Friday company, David Harris Jr., the host of the David Harris Jr. Show, and Erin Elmore, a contributor at Turning Point USA and attorney. Good to see you both. David, I want to start with you. So this committee previously met, and they initially had said that they were probably going to limit reparations to black residents whose ancestors were enslaved in the 19th century.
Well, Sean, it's absolutely it's ridiculous. It's distasteful. In my opinion, it is trying to drum something up, especially in a state like California where there were no slaves. Nobody had slaves in California. So how do they think they're going to figure out who came from where, and then who actually gets reparations? I'm half black. My dad is black, but am I not black enough? And then absolutely ridiculous.
You know, as you were saying that, I kept thinking to myself, that's a guy, Gavin Newsom, who is definitely thinking about the 2024 election. I mean, as you were saying it, I was thinking this is a guy who's doing all the things he needs to set himself up. But I'm thinking for 800 grand, you might move back. Erin, I want to. Hey, Erin, I want you to put your legal degree to use right now and touch on kind of what David was getting here, because if you listen to the left, when we were having this whole discussion about voter ID, they made this case that people of color have just such a hard time obtaining an ID. And so I started to think of this in the context of this, and I'm like, okay, so if you're on the left and you're claiming that people of color have a hard time getting an ID right now, you want this same group to now prove their family lineage going back to the 19th century
Yeah, this is going to result in massive amounts of litigation for people saying, why is the threshold 15% black or 20%? And hopefully it will get tied up for many years until these people come to their senses and realize that slavery ended in the 1860s. But having said that, my favorite part of this story is the militant group that said, no, your proposal isn't good enough. We want above and beyond that. We want a certain amount of acreage of land. Because what these lawmakers in California are doing, they're being sanctimonious and virtue signaling and pretending to care about minority groups, but it's just to get votes. And these people are actually saying, okay, we want X. Prove it to us that you actually care about us as minorities and give us exactly what we want. And now their hands are up saying, whoa, that's not exactly what we said, because these people don't actually want to go through with these policies. They just want to bloviate and pretend that they care. Over the bridge in San Francisco, we see that city is now giving money to pregnant mothers and also to transgender individuals just for existing. Now, what is the threshold there? What is the gender that you have to be required to be? So all of these liberal cities that are already in such disrepair and failing, and businesses are closing, people are moving, taxes are rising, drugs are out of control, homelessness is out of control. They should really focus on getting these cities in California and the state in operating order before they have another mass exodus.
Yeah, I agree. David, you know, it's funny. The point that you made about California hadn't even dawned on me until you made it, meaning that it wasn't even a state at that point, right? So you've got, how do you start to this process of saying, well, unless you can prove your ancestry, then you don't get it. And as much as we can ridicule this, though, the other thing that I started to think is all of these movements, and I was thinking yesterday we did this segment about, the definitions changing of certain words. All of these movements we ridicule at the beginning, and the right laughs at them because they're nuts. But then a state will do it and they snowball. I wonder if a year from now we do a segment and we're at 10 states that have done this.
Anything's possible with the Democrats that are in office right now, because none of them want to be held accountable for what they put America through, what they put Americans through during the pandemic. Yes, I said it. They don't want to be held accountable for what they did to students, what they did to teachers, what they've done to the military, doctors.
Hey, Erin, in the final 30 seconds, legally speaking, let's say that I'm David Harris and I moved out of California. Let's just call it 6 months.
Can I move back?
This bill. Yeah, of course, I know. But I was going to say that could David Harris make a claim and say, "Hey, I lived there for, let's just call it 20 years"? Like, legally, are they walking into a hornet's nest if they were to pass this? Because I'd say, "Hey, I paid taxes there for 20 years. I was a resident. I deserve this now."
That's a lawsuit worth filing. I think that's an absolutely great idea. You can say, I did my time. I paid X number of taxes over these number of years. You're now instituting this policy. Therefore, I want my share of the profits here, if you will. And I do think that people are going to litigate this case to achieve those goals and to get the money. And David should make that case. And a lawyer would take it, because oftentimes these cities will settle with you to appease you. And he could then go on the news, let's take it to that side of it, and say, California denied me my reparations as a black man, which becomes a public relations nightmare. So, David, I'm not barred in California, but I will find you a lawyer who is, and let's get this done.
That sounds good to me.
Wow, look at this. We've now upped the game on the show. So here you go, David Harris. I want to cut, just so we're clear. If you get 800 grand or whatever, just remember who came up with the idea. Anyway,
yeah, absolutely.
By the way,
absolutely.
You guys, I don't want you to go anywhere. Coming up next, it's the Battle of the Brains. David Harris Jr. and Erin Elmore made similar requests when they were children, and Santa made those dreams come true. But only one of them will emerge victorious today as we kick things off with question one. All right, the New York Times released their pick for the best television shows of 2022. One of their choices, as we discussed earlier this week, the January 6th hearings. The Times called it the show of the summer, the most important TV of the year. If it was up to the Times, the January 6th hearings would probably have won an Emmy. Fortunately, the Times does not wield such influence. So, which TV show did win the Emmy for Outstanding Drama Series? A, Ozark, B, Squid Game, C, Succession, or D, Stranger Things?
I gotta find the right letter.
Oh, yeah, that's a cute C, Erin, and clearly the TV watcher you are. You are correct. Succession, the HBO drama, has been nominated each season of its 3-season run and picked up a second Emmy in 2002. Discussed thoroughly. Question two, there was a ludicrous article released this week by Fortune.com entitled, "People Who Skipped Their COVID Vaccine Are at a Higher Risk of Traffic Accidents," according to a new study. The article theorized that people who resist public health recommendations might also neglect basic road safety guidelines. According to the most recent data compiled in late August by the website insurify.com, which state has the highest percentage of drivers with at-fault accidents on their driving record in 2022? A, South Carolina, B, Massachusetts, C, Maryland, or D, California? Get those letters up. We got a C and a D. Obviously, both of you are good drivers, and neither one of you clearly live in South Carolina, where 12% of drivers have had an at-fault accident on their record. South Carolina, by the way, barely edged out Massachusetts, and surprisingly, California didn't even crack the top 10. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp received an early Christmas present when Stacey Abrams announced on Good Morning America that she may run for office yet again. I'm sure he'd like to defeat her for a third time. There is a song called "Three-Time Loser." It was performed by numerous artists, but which artist was the first to record it? A, Wilson Pickett, B, Smokey Robinson, C, Marvin Gaye, or D, James Taylor? It's key in the question there, first to record it. We've got two A's. Both of you going with Wilson Pickett. Unfortunately, no, Mr. Marvin Gaye actually was the first to record it. But you were both right that Wilson Pickett then recorded it and released it as a song in 1966. Erin Elmore up 1-0. Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema made headlines late last week when she announced her departure from the Democratic Party and registered as an independent. Sinema becomes the third registered independent in the Senate, joining Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Angus King of Maine. Sinema is not a native Arizona, but neither is King a native of Maine. Where was Angus King born? Boston, Massachusetts, A, B, Alexandria, Virginia, C, Seattle, Washington, or D, Providence, Rhode Island? You've got a B and an A. That was a little bit of a trick there too. I see why you went with these.
B and a A.
It's B is the answer. Alexandria, Virginia is the answer.
Great,
All right.
sir.
The fallout from the FTX collapse continued this week as founder Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested in the Bahamas. It hasn't been a good week for the crypto industry as a whole, but one sports venue in the U.S. is still named Crypto.com Arena. In which major city is that arena located? A, Chicago, B, Boston, C, Houston, or D, Los Angeles?
I thought it was Miami. Hold on.
Me too.
Oh, that's interesting.
Hold on.
Oh, she's waiting for me to answer. She
No,
went with
I
the other
wasn't
one.
cheating.
All
I
right,
was
David
looking at
Harris.
my-
I'm kidding.
Okay, David Harris Jr., pressure's on. Did you?
I showed mine already.
I saw you had a B. Okay, I saw it. Okay, he has a B.
Yeah.
Erin Elmore grasping for that D, which is correct. It is Los Angeles. The former Staples Center, as it was known at his opening in 1999, was renamed in December of 2021 when Crypto.com purchased the naming rights for $700 million. Hey, congratulations, Erin Elmore, a big-time returning champ there. David Harris Jr. off to study for the weekend. I appreciate you both being with us.
Thank you.
Hey,
Happy Friday.
Noah was a conspiracy theorist, and then it rains, Sean. Come on now. David Harris Jr., .store.
Always with amazing T-shirts. Anyway, appreciate it. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you.
All
You
right,
guys too.
still ahead, the extra